Republic Digital is all set to drive the spotlight with its first ever roundtable series. AI and tech, fintech, consumer goods and retail, automotive and mobility. Watch as we decode the impact on 6th September 2024 only on Republic Digital.
Now, that's an impressive AV. You have to agree with me, all right? Now, ultraviolet automotive is not just advancing the electric vehicle technology, but also shaping the future of green transportation across the country with its cutting-edge energy infrastructure and a lot more efficiency that they're bringing in to the fore. Now, let's kickstart the series and hear from the leading voices across industries today. I'm sure our panelists will bring a wealth of experience and unique perspectives to today's discussions. So first up, now we have to understand that as we're stepping into a new decade, the technology is advancing at a rapid pace, from artificial intelligence to quantum computing, and a lot more that is there to understand for all of us. This global revolution is set to redefine the future of humanity as we know it. And India's thriving startup ecosystem, powered by the tech-savvy talent that we all possess, will play a pivotal role. On this note, let's begin with our first panel discussion. Moderating this session is Niranjan Narayan-Swamy, the Executive Editor of Republic Media Network and Editor, Republic Kannada. Joining him are the panelists, Ajit Padmanabh, founder and CEO, Who We Are, Shubhabra Debnath, co-founder and CTO, Neural Garage, Ankush Sabharwal, founder and CEO, Kurover.ai, T.A. Suhas Tejaskanda, founder and CEO, FWDA, Kamaljeet Singh, AVP Product Management, GeoCloud. Over to you, Niranjan.
Priyanka. So we have Ajit Padmanabh, Subhabrata Debnath, Ankush Sabharwal, Suhas Tejaskanda, and Kamaljeet Singh. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this discussion on AI and technology. I'm going to just set the ground for the discussion. Specifically, this is called the Budget Roundtable. So we look at what India is talking about AI, what India thinks about AI, specifically from a budget and the economic survey. I'll start with that. And then we'll talk about where we need to go from here. So the economic survey has cautioned India on AI, right? And the impact on India's economy specifically. There are risks, there are opportunities. Now I'll ask a question, it's an open-ended question, and we'll take a quick opening round of 30 seconds each, and then we can take it from there. Is it a barrier or a hurdle in India's growth story, right? AI has always been there, but AI has started thinking. AI has started ideating, right? Now, this is where the government is cautious on AI, but they also have an India AI mission, right? And they want the India AI story, and that is why we are here. I'd like to get your initial thoughts on the thought of India AI mission, whether it is the need of the hour, whether the risks and the opportunities are balancing out in the AI industry. I'll start with you, 30 seconds, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. What I generally think is that it's like an opportunity. It's not really a risk. Like you said, AI is now creating stuff. I wouldn't say thinking as of yet, but it's creating stuff. So that makes certain level of services not redundant, but evolved. So now what I think is certain people working in certain layer of services, they would be subjected to upgrading their services so they could service a better sector. So I think like it's an opportunity.
All right. Ankush?
Of course, if you see AI everywhere, you see the great push from government and with India AI mission, academia doing a lot of research, technology is creating AI platforms, and application developers creating apps which are solving real-world problems. I think, yes, AI was there earlier, but not at the scale which we are now. And I'm sure AI would enable and enhance any sector which is currently available now. AI is a tool, enabler for every industry, I would say.
Kamalji?
I think I'll just add on to it the fact that if you look at AI, it's truly a transformational technology revolution, which is not just going to, let's say, change the way how our enterprises are looking at and adopting and, let's say, getting better efficient systems in place, but it is also about changing our lives day to day, right? Rather than seeing the technologies fear in terms of having, let's say, job displacements and other things, that's part of every technological revolution. It's just going to create new jobs. It's going to make sure that our systems, our processes are able to handle these things much better. And it's specifically looking at from India's perspective, Niranjan, we have a plethora of areas in terms of where the application of AI can truly transform our sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, which are somewhat lagging in certain spaces. And that's a big area of application which can truly transform our day-to-day lives. That's what my thought is.
Ajit?
AI is extremely powerful. I think it's one of those technologies that's going to change multiple generations. And I think with power comes greater responsibility. I believe that India can be at the forefront of bringing in that responsibility into AI, making it more ethical, making it more fair. And I think that's the need of the hour, but it's a fantastic technology. And there is potential that India can be leapfrogging this worldwide.
Okay. Tejas?
Yeah, AI is definitely need of the hour, right? From Jawan to Kisan to all the industries. Definitely AI is needed today, especially in the sector of defense. You cannot have manned systems. It's more of unmanned systems that we are already seeing in place with ongoing wars. So yes, this is the need of the hour. And as he told, AI was always there, but we are tasting it late.
Okay. All of you are from very diverse fields working with AI, right? So I'm going to try and keep this discussion freewheeling, and feel free to come in. And I'll start with Kamalji. You can take the first one. The India AI mission, right? There is a amount of money that is set aside for development of artificial intelligence, right? Is that money enough? Does India, looking at the spurt of AI, need much more to be done?
All right. So to be honest, in terms of the good part is the government is serious about AI, right? I think looking at today's world, no government can think that you can have growth coming without AI, right? So obviously with the coming of India AI mission, it basically shows the trust and the confidence Indian government is putting into the technology adoption. Yeah, it truly has, like I said, the power to democratize technology for every Indian citizen, right? That's first. The moment, let's say, if you look at how the telecom revolution happened, more or less it changed the way how we basically interact with businesses, right? The way we interact with education. In COVID itself, we were able to do many things sitting at home itself, right? So that's what's going to happen. Now, if you look at the pillars of Indian AI mission, it is looking from the perspective that the government is focused on addressing not just, let's say, the opportunities, which they want to really ride high on, but also to address the risks of AI. Right? So there are pillars which are looking at addressing the data sets which are needed for AI to make sure that these are more governed, right?
Yes.
These are high quality data sets. At the same time, they're also putting in efforts towards the setting up of incubation centers, having startup ecosystems being, let's say, more or less revitalized, focused on AI. So that's going to happen. So I think it's a great initiative. The budgets in time would obviously be increasing, but the thing is we have a start here. That's what my thought would be.
You're happy with the start that we've had?
Definitely. I don't think so any other governments globally, I'm not sure, in terms of have put in AI as a part of their mission in terms of, how do you want to set the policies for that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a big difference. It's a part of our policy framework now, which, let's say, the MIT is looking into.
Yeah, and I think, with the India AI mission, with the 10,000 crores budget outlay for the next 5 years, and the year one being 551 crores, we have to look at it in tandem with the National Quantum Mission, because both quantum tech and AI tech will be compounding each other. AI will not be able to exist without quantum, because AI can only go that far, like the gentleman here said. It's not thinking, it's just probably creating something, right? So quantum will give them more power. So I think we got to look at both these aspects, and going by that, and also historically, India has not been doing great on R&D. So I think this generation is more, teething towards R&D, and I think we should welcome this.
One of the concerns that, okay, I'll put this question to Tejas. When you speak to people about AI, last weekend we had a conversation. I was speaking to an educator, and he said, I'll be out of a job in about 5 years, and his name is Anand Kumar of Super 30. Okay. You would have heard about him. He said, AI, data is democratized.
Yeah.
Technology is democratized. Across India, kids have access to smartphones. They have access to ChatGPT. And he gave me a use case scenario where he said, just imagine a kid in rural India who's in, say, class 9, class 10, or class 11, class 12, and he may not, be brave enough to ask, let's say, any question in class, but he can ask that question to ChatGPT, and he's practicing on ChatGPT. He's always, getting his answers from ChatGPT. The worry there, I felt, was about what are the answers he's getting from ChatGPT, right? Or what are the answers he's getting from, let's say, any AI search engine? Can you trust the information coming out? Is the base big enough from an Indian context?
That's one of the biggest concerns as well. The quality of the data and ethical, AI, that's a big concern. That's a still question mark. Has to be included in the policy framework, and how do we control? And that would not happen without the infrastructure being in our control. I'll also give you one use case of it. I would talk more specific to my domain. I'm not an educator. So when we talk about some warfare techniques like net-centric warfare, where most of the nodes, every element of the warfare connected to one platform.
Yeah.
And you, when you handle that platform, you need to have a local server in place. And imagine that doing on AWS or Azure. So definitely I cannot imagine to do that. So I think with the infrastructure here, and which is in our own control, and putting certain policy frameworks, only then we can assure a safe next generation.
Yeah, and when you can take this question, and then I'll take that forward with Subabrata. Ankush, when he spoke of ethical AI, and you have this conversation around biased algorithms, how do you fight that? How do you fight, let's say, we at Republic, we often speak about the dangers of a Western bias or a Western influence on Indian democracy and policy making, right? So how do you work around that?
Yeah, see, biasness would be there. See, if we are looking for real AI systems, and if you're looking for making systems from the real data and to get outcome which are towards the reality, it will be biased because data comes from the society, and is society not biased?
Yeah.
Society is biased, right? So now biasness is there. Now, I think you rightly asked, how do we overcome that? So that's again case-to-case basis. So probably maybe there are some systems we may want them to be biased, because we want the real representation of the society. If not, again use AI, Gen AI, and create synthetic data so that we kind of put safety net to the biasness. But there are 4 things which I always kind of vocal about when we create AI systems for our clients.
Can you just pull the mic a little bit towards you? Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, 4 things when we create any AI systems. First is, of course, the purpose. The purpose of any system which we create should be good and should be vetted. I'm sure the regulations are coming up soon. The purpose should be well defined and articulated. The second is the inclusivity. So when I say inclusivity, it's more of inclusivity of data, which we have to try gathering, creating the system. If we don't have the inclusive data, put the right disclaimer so that users are aware there might be biasness around this area, so that users are aware while consuming the output. Second is the explainability. That's very, very important. Many AI technologies would say explainability is difficult. It is difficult, but we cannot get away from that. We just launch something and the output comes bad, and we say sorry tomorrow. We have huge responsibility towards our users, towards our clients, businesses, and to the society at large. So figure out the way to explain. If not, don't release the products for the consumer. Fourth, of course, the privacy. That's I think much talked about and being dealt with GDPR and DPDPA in India. So yeah, so I think we all are working together to make sure we have right regulations, right technology, and right processes to give the right solution, safe, inclusive, responsible solution to the consumers.
Yeah, true.
If I can chime in on the bias side of it.
Sure.
When Facebook was launched, we all use Facebook, we do the scrolling and all that. It was designed on certain algorithms which were behavioral, and those were tested on male white. Okay, that is the test data. So that tells us that all of us are excluded out of Facebook. It shouldn't work for us, right? So where, at who we are in the business of retelling our history the right way. However you want to look at the word right. All right, but it is extremely important that we use this technology and any other bias-ridden technology that you said, even we are biased, but to be slaves to another set of biases and hone our attitude towards it or change our nature, change our mindset, it's going to destroy us as a civilization. That's where for us AI is very foundational. We are looking at indigenous AI building, and we hope that a lot of other companies that will come out
How
with
difficult
these.
is it to build that indigenous AI?
It's extremely difficult because you are starting ground up. Algorithms are mathematical equations. We would have studied all these in mathematics, right? Now, I have to remove all those equations away and start from our scriptures, start from, let's say, Kautilya's Arthashastra, see what that quatrain talks about. Can we convert that into a behavioral model? Can we make that an algorithm and impinge that into the behavioral strata of the entire application that we are building? That's why we are building the metaverse on our own, absolutely indigenous metaverse. It's a long call, it's a long shot, and like KJ was saying, there's a lot of investment required for this. And that's where we think that India AI mission and their collaboration with startups and all of these, I think we will play a vital role there. It's needed. It's needed.
Do you have a view on that, Subabrata? And I'll add one more question. You run an AI startup, right? What are the challenges that you face at an AI startup? What are the opportunities in your specific field? I mean, you're the co-founder and CTO of Neural Garage. I found it very interesting, your model of AI that you use in your products. So one, what are the challenges? Two, what are the opportunities? And how is the government helping you in this ecosystem?
I think one part I would definitely agree. So even we are building foundation models. I've always built foundation models because you have more control over what you're building, and there is an inherent risk if you're using someone else's model because you're only changing the application layer. And AI is essentially a probabilistic thing. No matter how much we try, there will always be a bias variance trade-off. As a company, you can safeguard yourself saying, I followed these rules. But the biggest problem, not the problem, but the biggest challenge is there also exists open source. And you can't, stifle that because that will, stop innovation. So this is something very difficult to tackle. But if the government invests sufficiently in building technology in India itself, that would encourage more individuals to build the entire thing out of India instead of being diverted towards doing other stuff and being dependent on other people.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Just wanted to add to it, I think, one of the aspects of AI when we look at, and that too, let's say general AI, which is something what we're looking at also being used to power generative AI,
yes,
right? The biggest ingredient is data, right? So thing which is powering the artificial intelligence itself has become a problem area now. Because,
yes.
Right? At the first stage, you need large amount of data to train that, right?
Correct.
And where do you source that data from, right? The biggest source is what is publicly available, which is, let's say, open source, internet, whatsoever, right? And obviously, that data being populated by any random person who's having some views, you're putting blogs, you're putting comments, so it'll definitely have that bias. It's very similar if I have to draw an analogy, right? How does an individual get his intelligence, right? How do we get our biases? It's based on the information that is fed to us, right? Right from, let's say, the way we are taught in schools, the information that we are consuming in books, the information that we're consuming from, let's say, social media, right? That helps us develop a certain bias in our own heads, right? How do we control that in that perspective? I'm just drawing a very simple analogy.
Yeah.
How do you control that? You go and consult someone, right? You ask your parents, you ask someone who's actually a mentor in that field or an expert in that field to know, is that bias correct, right? What I'm forming. Same kind of guardrails are needed when we have to implement AI very specifically. And I think India AI Mission also wants to look at that aspect. That's the reason it has talked about certain pillars within that space. One is the data sets. So you need to have controlled data sets to be made available for specific applications, right? General models, I understand, you can do that. But something what, let's say, Ajit mentioned, he's trying to build something for Indian history, Indian I don't want to use the specific terms, but let's say, he's basically bringing all the history onto a platform where people can leverage, but it shouldn't have a certain religious bias which people can find it controversial. But that's not the intent. The intent is to preserve a culture, right? So those are the kind of guardrails you need to make sure that you make sure that your data sets are controlled. You have people from diverse fields who are let's say, providing the oversight for it. That's a big thing. That's a very big thing important, right? Third thing, the data that you're using, right? Yeah. Do you have tools to make sure that the data is of high quality? It's not having any missing information. Can you detect bias in that itself? Because AI itself can be used to detect bias, right? You can have sentiment analysis put together on top of the data while you're processing it before you feed into the AI model to generate an outcome, right?
Yes.
So those are the kind of 3 steps you can look at. You have tools and technologies to be put there, having a controlled set of data, and then having a field of, let's say, application by certain mentors or diverse field of people who can provide oversight on the outcomes. That's how you can really control a bias in that space. And that can set forth in terms of how you can have controlled applications in different sectors. Yeah. Right? You simply cannot have a large language model being applied to solving a problem in agriculture.
Correct.
So that's how it's possibly
So
going to...
I'll do a quick round, 30 seconds, because you've sort of opened up a conversation about policy. I mean, it comes down to policy. I mean, can you regulate AI, right? Yeah. Quick, 30 seconds, I'll do a round. Can the government regulate AI?
Yes. I'll tell you one thing that I have observed, a very strange thing and a beautiful thing. I was in Mauritius 3 months ago. I was invited for a summit, AI and Tech Summit. I met a minister from UAE. Guess his portfolio? He was minister for AI. So, world is revolutionizing. You see, UAE today stands first in the security, physical security, I mean. Again, data security is also one more thing. Now, even for the AI, they are bringing in protocols and regulations. And that's how I feel having a separate department on, as he was telling, what to feed, what not to feed, what's the quality of your data source, can be definitely regulated from day one. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I agree with him. AI regulation very much required, and I think European Union has already come out with the AI Act in 2024 May, and we are following suit with DPDP or maybe other acts as well. I think the core of the matter in terms of AI and algorithm is, I'll give you a trivia, right? So the NATO Center of Excellence for Strategic Comms, they created a report based on their research on how certain AI-driven mass movements were created. And they fed the images, the Gen AI images, right, back into the AI model detectors. They were charged with the fact that detect it as AI or detect it as human-created image, right? So the AI model was able to detect only 15% of Gen AI images as Gen AI. So you see the frivolous algorithmic languages that we have, which cannot detect their own creation. You can detect your fellow humans, right? So that's what we are dealing with here. Regulation is definitely required. How do we eliminate these things? There is something called white box algorithm concept. Black box is where you don't know what the algorithm does. That's when Facebook and Insta, they're all stuck in their, Congress litigations. But in terms of white box, it'll give us an open chair on what is happening inside and whether this is good, bad, or ugly. I think that's where we have to head through regulation.
I'm going to take that to him because you've set the framework for this. Ankush, you work with, platforms that typically are used by the Indian middle class, I would say, right? How important, in your view, is it to regulate AI? Because when you speak of AI in UPI, AI in ticketing systems, right?
Yeah.
How do you regulate it?
You see, when we buy a physical product in India, don't we look for ISI mark?
Correct.
Right? So why not for software products? So yes, so software products are not tangible, we cannot see. And that's why then there are ISO standards and how this product is going to be built. The processes should be well defined and repeatable. So ISO 9001. So for AI, of course, it's being used by consumers, and consumers probably might not be much aware to test whether to use this system or not. And so technologies should build the technology, should build the product, should solve the solution, and they should not spend too much time in creating the right policies. Then who should we depend on to create the policy? Someone should come forward and create the policy.
Yes.
Why not government? So I think if government comes up with a regulation, it would aid and it'll help technologists like us, so that we just focus on building applications and not worried about this is the right thing or not. Someone is coming up with the right processes to adopt.
Yeah.
So of course, I think I'm for regulation and they should come up soon.
Yeah. Sure, brother.
Yeah, I would agree. But my principal thought process here is that the regulation should not be reactive. It should be preventive. Because I've seen earlier AI regulations from a reactive standpoint, and they have been a mess. I remember this particular story in US. There was this phone vendor who used to improve their images detection when you click selfies. And a law was passed that you cannot, train on images without taking permission from people. So people had clicked selfies and filed cases on the phone vendor. So these wide swings, you can't predict these. It's ideal if you have a committee who discusses this with, let's say, a body like NASSCOM, and then go forward with a very planned and structured way.
Yeah, true. I'm going to try and move to another point now, given that we have very limited time. Kamaljeet, you can start. You can take this one, and then we'll go around the table. One of the takeaways from the economic survey was also of the fear of AI eating into service sector and jobs, right? Even the government in its economic survey has mentioned, there was a fraction, less than 1% shift that they expected, right? Yeah. I don't know whether you call it displacement or a correction, but they feel that was likely to happen in the near future. One, how can AI be used to improve efficiency and productivity of Indian industries? And what are the specific use case and benefits? And do you believe in this view that AI can take away jobs or is taking away jobs?
I think that's a very pertinent question that everybody will have in mind. Anytime a new technology comes, right, there would be something what we call as displacement, right? This displacement doesn't truly have to mean that it's a job displacement, right? It could also mean that reskilling of people within the same set of jobs that they've been doing, right? And also an opportunity for people who are working in that space to upgrade themselves and take on bigger roles, right? If I give a simple analogy of, let's say, when agriculture was being done in the past 30, 40 years back, right? There was no mechanization, right? So you needed 20, 30 people to really go and
Yes.
plow the fields, right?
Yes.
What happened? Mechanization came. Did 20 people lose their jobs? No, they shifted to something else, right? Same thing if you look at, and specifically within the, let's say, information technology sector, you will not have job losses. You'll have just a displacement. The good part is AI is a technology which is, let's say, one step above, riding on the same set of tools, technologies, languages on which it is built on, right? So people who understand that will only need to just upgrade and move up the ladder to take on bigger roles in terms of coming up with new, let's say, innovative products, specific use cases. Since you asked about, let's say, if I have to really think through, let's say manufacturing as a sector, right?
Yes.
That's a sector within Indian segment in terms of, contributes to, I think, 15% of our GDP. Definitely we want to go up the ladder. If we are aiming for, to reach our $5 trillion mark faster. What are the use cases we're looking at? We need to bring in more efficiencies over there, right? We have to compete at a global level. How can I bring that in, right? One is, of course, following the principles of leveraging AI to solve my use cases of increasing production efficiency, right? So can I have my complete autonomous shop floor, which is basically being manned by one person, right? And other people can look into the other aspects, right? So AI models can really help you in terms of doing the complete monitoring of the shop floor in terms of where the production is happening. It can help use cases around, let's say, reducing production downtimes, thereby again increasing efficiency, because you can feed the data of a machine into an AI model and it can do failure prediction in advance, right? So you can do your preventive maintenance ahead of time. You can plan your production outputs and have your supply chain ready to fill your warehouses and pick it from there, and logistics can move forward thereon, right? So it can go on very seamlessly. So these are the areas, potential areas in terms of your area can really transform our industries, right? So it's just going to end up creating more jobs in that space. Only fear that we have is of the change. We will have to learn. We will have to rescale, right?
Yes.
That's the only idea. We all have to embrace.
Ajit, does it take away jobs? Does it improve efficiency and productivity?
Look, tech is a double-edged sword, right? It may take jobs and it may give some new jobs, right? So, for example, 20 years back when I finished my engineering, I didn't have a job designation called persuasion engineer or prompt engineer, right? We just had software engineer. So times change and we are just humans. Let's be humble here. We're just creating technologies for our benefit. We are not, redesigning the universe, so to speak. But I would say this, I would use the word upskilling, because every person in this country needs to know what AI is. It is not a marketing terminology. It is a technology.
Yeah.
You're doing MBA, learn AI. You're doing marketing, learn AI. You're doing tech, you'll anyway learn AI.
Yeah.
You're doing PhD in some scholarly, linguistic studies, learn AI. Because this will be ubiquitous. This technology is going to be the future.
Yeah.
Right? On the flip side, I can give you 2 instances where this has actually resulted in displacement. One is a recent one from Hollywood. There's this filmmaker and actor, Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
He was planning to expand his Hollywood studio at $800 million. Okay? And OpenAI came up with this Sora. It's a generative AI software for video production, all right? So he saw one of the video produced out of Sora, and he said, I'm not going to expand the studio. I'm done. I'm using this. This created a flutter back then. So, of course, there will be displacement, but the need is adaptability. Humans are adaptable. Let's understand our history. We've always evolved. We've always adapted.
Correct.
And this technology will get us to the next level of our capacity, our capability.
Tejas.
Yeah, I think as they mentioned out, upskilling and reskilling, these are very important. Again, I can give you 2 use cases. We have a lot of security agencies today in India, SIS, too many security agencies which are providing good services. Now, if you're going to, monitor your perimeter of any VIP security or a gated community or anything, you don't need to have 20 people, 25 people there guarding your perimeter. You can have a couple of drones, couple of sensors, and couple of cameras integrated, wherein you have a model there which will be able to predict intrusion detections, which will be able to track and trace the intruder, all this stuff, and you can probably reduce that to 2 or 3 people. But that does not mean that you're going to lose jobs. It's going to provide more jobs, but maybe in other way. So reskilling and upskilling is definitely important in this sector. And when we talk, this is a civilian use case I'm talking about. When we talk about in a defense use case, and I barely want people to lose jobs there. I don't want human casualties there. I want bots to fight bots. I don't want our humans to go and fight bots.
Yeah. Okay, so you can take this one, Subhabrata, because I think the field that you work in specifically on improving efficiency and productivity, in your case, AI has played a big role.
So essentially the way I look at it is that earlier, if you were able to serve to X consumers in the hands of an expert, AI can now serve 1,000 consumers. So essentially, in the right hands, AI is actually increasing efficiency and producing more deliverable outputs. So even if there are, I would say, job replacements for now, ultimately those would evolve. So it's similar to computers, right? When it started, it was not a specific subject. It was an amalgamation of electronics, etc., etc. But you needed to know computers back then. If you're a biology student, the example that he gave, everyone, marketing, etc., is similar with AI. Whether you're using it or building it, you have to be here.
Yeah. Ankush.
Yeah, so see, I think there are 2 kind of developments we can do with AI. One, of course, building the right platform, big platforms which can be used by developers to create applications. So technologies, LLMs, Gen AI platforms, one. The second is solving the problems. So now as we see, I doubt if there's any industry where AI is not being used. Last week in one MG mall, I've seen a big mattress ad saying, hey, words first, AI mattress. So it gives a feeling like now everything would have AI. So now I think there are 2 things again, part of using AI for application development, solving problem. One is identify the right problem and solve with tech, and probably you can use AI to that. But I think one major area which we are adopting AI for is make your existing app more adaptable, more usable. The way last week we have launched voice-based payment system with NPCI. What we're trying to do, we are trying to make any system, any software system, and even hardware system talk the way we talk. We believe with this, since talking is a natural way of interaction, this will increase the adoption of UPI, and similarly any other systems like railway ticket booking and banking system, e-commerce. So we let user talk to technology so that adoption increases. And I think it's low-hanging fruit, I'm not saying change your core technology, let the banking system be there, e-commerce be there, payment system be there. So add that AI voice layer in multi-languages so that people can just talk to the technology and take the benefit of technology.
Okay. So brings me to my last point, and because all of you are from diverse sectors and industries, so I don't want to ask you specific questions. I'll ask one question which each of you can take. Kamalji, because it's your turn. Okay, so I'm going to start with you and then we'll go around the table, right? How can India leverage AI to improve its competitiveness in the global market? How can we be a global AI leader? Now, the follow-up to that question is that are there any specific sectors where AI can provide a significant advantage to the Indian market?
All right, sure. I think first of all, I think India is definitely poised to be an AI leader in the global market, very specifically because we have been the leader in the space of providing IT services, right? So AI is basically riding on that. It's a technology which is leveraging information technology, and we are building those models on top of it, very specifically. We have the highest number of IT professionals working out of India, supporting global big stalwarts who are, let's say, coming out with this AI technology. So a lot of research is already happening here. We have 4 startup founders here who are also working in the AI space itself.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the potential we have in terms of having the highest level of, let's say, most literate engineers in the IT who can very quickly learn, upskill and reskill onto the AI side and be able to come up with use cases which can solve real world problems, right? Of course, we're looking at I won't simply say that solving a better recommendation or a retail app is something that AI cannot do. It definitely can do it. It is actually doing it right now also. You're getting better recommendations, you're getting conversational AI in terms of guiding you. But what are the areas where it has to really proliferate? If we look at India as a country, right? It has to really go deep into the agriculture sector, right? It has to empower farmers to get a view in terms of what decision should I take in terms of what crop would be right for me to get the right, let's say, profit out of my activity, because they struggle with the pricing.
Yes.
Right? They struggle with techniques in terms of how can I ensure that my yield is very predictable and of high quality, right? So government is already taking a lot of initiatives in that space. Specifically, if I talk about agriculture, there are Kisan app available. There is a soil health card initiatives which is already there, which is collecting information, providing some advisory. Now you map AI on top of it, you get more accurate advisory going to the farmer. So you can take far better decisions, right? If I go into, let's say, healthcare, right? Again, India, it's a land of opportunity. And that's another reason I feel that it's not going to displace jobs. It's just going to create more and make sure that technology is available for people, right? So healthcare is going to get more cheaper. It's going to get more accurate. It'll reach the rural places where it's difficult to get a doctor there, right? A qualified doctor or an experienced doctor to be in place, right? So you can have your technology through, let's say, cloud and connectivity, being able to give the right advice to the person who's having some sort of problem, right? It could be, let's say, getting an X-ray done in a remote village.
Yes.
That X-ray is analyzed by, diagnostically done by an AI model, and doctor can prescribe in terms of what steps to be taken. So that's healthcare being, let's say, truly revolutionized. Same thing can be applied for, let's say, managing your biodiversity, managing your climate, planning for urban development. All these sectors can truly benefit with AI. Or we will possibly find an area where we'll have actually shortage of skills. That's what's going to happen eventually.
Fantastic. Okay. Ajit, can we be a global AI leader? Sectors we should be focusing on?
Absolutely. Apart from the foundational AI that I spoke about earlier, where we have the opportunity to change the way social media or the current consumption of data is behaving, there are 2 other fields that I feel that India can be a leader. One is in healthcare, and I'll give you a specific example. The other one is in linguistics. Healthcare, because we have the maximum number of diabetes cases in the world, we can look at AI as the genetic mapper or the fingerprint kind of deducer as to why this is happening. Is this because of our lifestyle? Is this because of our food habits? Is this because of whatever, right? Now, that is the power of AI, where it will give you the answer that humans are not capable of getting. Let's understand AI is a technology that's going to enable us, compound us. So healthcare, I think that should be a great research field. Linguistically, if you look at it, we have 121 languages in India, 19,500 dialects, and we are consuming LLMs of the West. I have this firm bias in my head, right? I think we can leapfrog the linguistic field, language detection, language modeling, language consumption, language elicitation, and language production. AI to AI talk, whatever you're doing, can we create a language out of it? We can, the others cannot.
Absolutely.
So I think these two are, because with linguistics, we can take it to Africa, we can leapfrog their education. We can create, materials in Swahili or any other language based on our linguistic knowledge. I think these two areas are fantastic opportunities for India.
Interesting. Tejas.
So yes, India can become the leader, definitely, provided you improve your infrastructure. Because what I see is when we do a lot of edge computing today, still Raspberry Pi to Jetson Nanos, we still buy it out from outside. And also, as I was talking about some servers, we definitely need that. And government is also coming with DPI, digital public infrastructure. Again, when we talk about the crops, already some 400 villages or districts are being mapped for various agricultural crop surveys and various things, where you can have this crop health monitoring, prediction on the disease and control. Then we are slowly moving towards something called precision farming, which we are already doing it with our drones. And even in the defense sector, it's the same case. And when we talk about manufacturing also, the QC process, when we talk about it, there is something called automatic optical inspection. It uses some machine learning algorithms to just analyze whether though your entire PCB board is rightly assembled or not in the entire SMT line. Or we can also, when you talk about some BGA level circuits where millions of transistors are there, which you can't see through your naked eyes, you have some X-ray machines where that can again be, on top of that you can have your AI to have your process optimized, have a better quality check, and improve your efficiency and quality as well.
Okay. Subabrata, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think one big advantage India has is the amount of data that they have. When it comes to, let's say, consumers, whether it's media or languages, it is just this, different diversity of data, the interactions, the leverages that we can get from it. I mean, it's true. I mean, the West shouldn't be giving us LLM models. We should be giving it to everybody because the phonetics, everything, the diversity that's present, that should give us enough advantage. But for that, India has to invest in infrastructure, and it's across. They have to be self-reliant, and it will be a bit of a patient capital, but it will pay, rewards in the long run or by a large margin. Because essentially, you want things to be built out of India. And when you have invested in infrastructure, then you're looking across industries, whether it's healthcare, medicine, media, etc. So yeah, that's what infrastructure has to be the key. Okay. That's what will start.
Ankush, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah.
Can we be an AI leader? Sectors to focus on.
Yeah, so see, first of all, who can be better country than India to create AI platforms? As we know, AI needs data, and with the virtue of the highest population we have, we produce data by just living life.
Yes.
As organizations, as individuals. So for platform, yes, we should be number one. And even for AI applications, again, with the virtue of population, we have large problems to solve. And we can, of course, solve with data and AI. And yes, with core over and powered by Bharat GPT, indigenous LLM, we create co-pilots for organizations in just 2 minutes. Add your data, link your website in any language, you ask anything, we give responses with citation. Sovereign AI, we are not doing any calls to the US. It's sovereign, it can be deployed even on-premise. Yes, now for well. I recently read in the news. So I think, yes, technologies are coming together, with, of course, with the support from government to provide indigenous apps to solve the real-world problem.
To add on to that, India is a land where mathematics was born, and we all have geniuses here. Zero was, we found that, correct? And I think AI is all maths.
Yes, I think AI Literacy Day should be announced soon, and that should be from India. Maybe 5th September, yesterday, should also be called as AI Literacy Day. Of course, 01, which is Foundation for Digital, and of course for AI. True. So we should celebrate this as AI Literacy Day.
Yeah.
Very interesting conversation. Thank you, Ankush. Subabrata, thank you, Kamaljeet. Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, Tejas.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of the AI and technology panel. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.